This room. Well, back up for just a second. My name. Hi.
Just stay with hi, man.
Come on. Okay. So my name is Ian. Everybody say hi, Ian.
Hi, Ian.
And I am going to be leading this 15-week journey. In a moment, I'll tell you how we got here, how this thing started. How many of you know somebody that went through it last year? Raise your hand if you know somebody who went through it last year. And you guys are here? That's crazy. No, I'm just kidding. Frankly, I don't know how you got here. I don't know how you got here. I don't know if a manager or a supervisor, I don't know if you asked, I don't know if you were told, and I don't really care. No, I mean it. I don't care. You're here. Somebody deemed it worthy for you to be here. Now, whether you want to be here or not, I don't care either. Somebody deemed it for you worthy to be here. And I'm not here to waste my time. I don't have to be here. I was asked to put this program together, so I don't have to be here. You may or may not have to be here. And we're going to make it a valuable experience, period. If you don't want it to be a valuable experience, in other words, you're walking in the door going, this is crap, I don't want to be here, it's all a bunch of nonsense, it's all crap anyway, all this stuff, next thing, leadership program, crap, is all crap. How many of you know that person? How many of you know that person, seriously? How many of you are that? No, don't tell me. So if you don't want to be here, and there is a way that you can request not to be, because for some of you might go request and they're going to say, no, too bad, you got to be here. Hi. No, don't move that chair. Just find a place down here somewhere. Or over here. This is the spit zone, so don't sit here. So you could sit over there. Come on in. Hi, how are you? Hi, good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you. Welcome. I'm the maitre d'. It's right over here. Seat for two, right over there. Hi, how are you? Come on in. Yes, welcome. Thank you for coming. 5 minutes late. Appreciate being here. Come on in. Whatever you like to say. Exactly. That's what we like to hear. So, not exactly sure how you got in the room, and it doesn't really matter to me. You're here. I'll explain to you how I got in the room in a moment. But it's certainly, it won't be a waste of time. It can't be. It absolutely can't be a waste of time. Can't be a waste of your time, can't be a waste of my time, can't be a waste of Tim's time or anybody else's time. It has to be a valuable experience. But there's two sides of that to ensure it's valuable. I'll make sure we do what we do well. We'll line out for you exactly what you can expect from us, and then you can hold us accountable to that. And I'll hold you accountable as well. I'll hold you accountable to your participation. And that'll just be between me and you. I'm not going to go run into your supervisor or anything. It's just you're an adult. You commit, I'll commit, and then we'll hang out for 15 weeks. And at the end of the 15 weeks, you'll be better than you were at the beginning, period. And that might be in your home. That might be in your workplace. That might be wherever. I don't know. I don't know. I just know that you have an opportunity to be a part of a 15-week journey. And whatever you decide to put in is probably what you'll get out. When you talk to other people that participated, what did they say? Somebody tell me what they said.
They didn't say a thing.
That's right, because they knew that you were, come on. I know, I love that. I'm glad you're here, but you can't move the chair. No, he's tempted. He's like, he was talking to her, not me, so I can use it. She can't move the chair, but I can. So let me see if I can move the chair. No, you're not being punished. Young lady at the end, will you replace my chairs, please? No, don't sit there, sir. That's the spit zone. You don't want to sit there. You want to sit over here.
Under the spotlight.
Yeah, you want to sit over there. Good job, good job, good job. Are you involved in roads? Because you did great cone movement there. That was excellent. Okay, so what we're going to do today is outline for you the expectations, the roles and responsibilities, the framework of the program so you understand it. How many of you actually watched the orientation video? Raise your hand. Oh, good job. I don't know what's wrong with you three, but everybody else seemed to have the orientation video. And how many of you actually sent in the answer to the 3 questions? Okay, we'll talk about that as well. If you haven't watched the orientation video and if you haven't answered the 3 questions, then you need to do that. And I will send you a little note. Come on in. How are you? Come on in. Just find a seat. But do it quickly. No, don't go by the chairs. See, this is why I said everybody move to the middle, because then people could just sit right down, but now they got to climb over everybody. This is why you guys don't listen to me. Come on, come on. Rapidly, brother, rapidly. I love the hat. Sweet hat. Very nice. So by the time you walk out today, you'll have a clear understanding of what you can expect from us, what we expect from you, and hopefully your head and heart will be in the right place for a 15-week journey. That's what we're going to try to accomplish today. Did anybody not print their handouts? Is there anybody that does not have handouts? Raise your hand if you do not have handouts. Okay, that is $2, my friend. $2. I'm not kidding, it's $2. So either this time or next time, you need to bring me $2. We fine you. You are fined. If you don't bring your stuff, you get fined. Leaders can bring their stuff. What do we do with the fine? We donate it to charity. The charity today is Center of Hope. In the earlier program, amongst the supervisors and managers, $22 was donated to charity, which means 11 people didn't bring their stuff. So you, obviously, the front line, better, right? Better. No, we only got one guy. And whatever's generated in fines, I match, and then we donate that to a charity. I think the most we generated for one session last time was $300. That's because everybody decided just to pitch in. And then we donated to charity. Hi, ladies. How are you? Good. So, anybody else need a handout? Okay. You have your binder, you have your handout, and in the future, you have your little placard. How many of you figured out how to fold that? How many of you are still trying to figure that out? See the engineers in the room. No. See the engineering department. They will explain. All right. Somebody tell me, why do you have a binder, handouts, and placard? Why do you think you have that? Why do you think you have that? Because of what I said earlier. Leaders figure it out. Leaders know how to organize themselves. Leaders how to gain information. Leaders take notes. Because science tells us if you write it, hear it, read it, you're more likely to retain it. In a moment, I'll make the K. Hi. Just sit down in the next available seat, please. Oh, this is my ESS, ADSSSSS lady? Wow. Okay, so here's what we're going to have to do. They're going to have to sign that on the way out.
Can I pass it around?
No, because they need to listen right now.
Okay.
So are you going to stay the whole time, or are you leaving? Then just right there, or right there, or right there, or anywhere, and then you see this lady on your way out. And how many sheets are there? Couple? So we'll lay them out, and then everybody can sign on the way out the door, so it's efficient and quick, okay? But we can't, I don't want to pass it around now because it's just too much confusion. So a year and a half ago, I was here in Fort McMurray. I was at a thing called the Leading the North Conference. Has anybody heard of that? So the Leading the North Conference was Peter Mansbridge, myself, the founder of Greenpeace, and a number of other people that were asked to come to Fort McMurray and give their insight, give their expertise, give their whatever. I have no idea why they invited me. They were probably drunk. They were like, Chubby Brown man, yeah, he'll be great, woo! And they invited me to come. And I was supposed to open the conference. I was the opening keynote speaker. Peter Mansbridge was the closing keynote speaker. And the two of us were supposed to bookend this conference. And they had all the top leaders from all the region that were in this, and people from all over the world were at this conference. And it was my first exposure to Fort McMurray. And they wanted me to give my thoughts. The point of me speaking was to give my thoughts about Fort McMurray and the region of Wood Buffalo and what was my impression. And I'll say to you what I said that night. I think that you have the opportunity to build a city that could be a defining city throughout not only North America, but around the world. I think that you have an opportunity to create a beacon of what a city could be like in the 21st century. Well, how in the hell could you say that? Well, one, you have more natural resources than can last 3 lifetimes. Is that true or not? It's true. You have people that have come from all over the world to reach their dreams. Is that true or not? True. And nothing's in place. Now, nothing's in place. Now listen, although that can be frustrating, difficult, and challenging, it also has tremendous opportunity that you can create what hasn't been. How many say that's true? Absolutely not. That means that I can't park in front of the TD Bank. But anyways, So the opportunity is there. That's what I said that night. I said, you have the opportunity to be like the Athens of days of old. You could be a community, because Athens had those same things. It was the intersection of commerce, people from all over the world. They had great resources because of just their ability to navigate the sea, and just they had some opportunity, and you have the same opportunity. And then I said the following, or you're going to be another pissant boomtown that pisses it all away. And the choice is up to you. Now, what's amazing about it, because that's exactly what I said to all these leaders. And isn't it amazing I got invited back? Because I said it with a really hard. And as soon as I walked off the stage, Glenn, how many of you know Glenn? Glenn said, I want to talk to you. And I said, what's up? And he said, I want you to come back. And we had breakfast the next morning. And he said, I want you to come back. And I said, okay. And we talked. I mean, we really talked. Now, I've been in 283 Canadian communities in the last 4 years. From Belle Island, Newfoundland to Port Alberni, BC. From Hay River, the Northwest Territories to Crystal Beach, Ontario. And all points in between. I've met a lot of CAOs. And you can have whatever opinion you want of him, because we all have our own opinions. But eyeball to eyeball, over a cup of coffee, with nobody else around, he was sincere and authentic about his desire to build something special here. Now, we all have our different opinions. I'm just telling you what I gained. And he said, will you come back? And I said, yeah. So I came back a couple more times. Then he and Brian and a lady named Joanne Roberts. How many of you know Joanne Roberts? Little ball of fire, woo! Newfoundlander, woo! I mean, that's how many of you know what I'm talking about. Am I right or wrong? I mean, that's Joanne. So they take me out to supper in June of last year, and they say, so what do you think? What do I think about what? What do you think about Fort McMurray? Wood Buffalo, you've been here now a number of times. What do you think? And not only what do you think, but what do you think is missing? You challenged us to build a community that all would want to live in. And now you've experienced it. What do you think is the gap between that ideal and what is today? And I said, leadership. The gap is leadership. And I know probably initially they thought I was talking about them because they're the leaders, but I wasn't. I said, there's not enough leaders. You need leaders in every sector, in every silo, in every corner, in every neighborhood, because that's the only way you're going to take on this massive transformation that you're trying to do. I mean, all of you know, right? Largest industrial project in the history of mankind. Everybody knows that, right? Largest industrial project in the history of mankind is what you're a part of. And because you're a part of the municipality, collectively you touch every citizen from cradle to grave. Maybe not just your job, but how many of you agree with me? Everybody in this room, all the jobs you do touch every citizen from cradle to grave. How many of you agree with that? So you're a part of the most important entity in the area that the largest industrial project in the history of mankind is occurring. So my thing to them and to you is, what's missing is leaders. And what do you mean leaders? Leaders, not formal leaders. Come on, no. Come on down. Officer, fire chief, whatever you are. What is that uniform? I can't see. Fire? Come on in. Right over here, brother. But this is the spit zone, so don't sit in these 4 seats. It's right over there. He's gotten wet before. That's right. So listen now, listen. So does anybody know what the normal maturity process or length of time for a community member to be an effective leader? Not just within an organization, but out in the community. Like helps run minor hockey, helps with the Girl Guides, helps with the United Way fundraising campaign, you know, all that kind of stuff that makes a community worth living in. What's the normal process that a person kind of grows into being able to help with that kind of thing? Anybody know? It's about 7 to 10 years. Till somebody gets to a place in the community where they can actually make a contribution in a meaningful and real way and lead something. Who's in planning? Anybody in planning? What's going to happen over the next 7 to 10 years? How many more people are supposed to be coming here? Anybody know? About 100,000 people. Do you think you have 7 to 10 years to wait for the normal maturation process of leadership in this community, yes or no? No. Because remember, community is more than a group of people that live in close proximity to one another and share the buying and selling and consuming of goods together. That's not a community. That's not a community. A community is deeper and broader and more meaningful and more vibrant than that. Well, as I said to them that night, you need leaders. And you don't have 7 to 10 years. And then Glenn said, well, what are you going to do about that? And I was like, come on in. No, come on in. Just come on in. I know they all should have moved to the middle so you could sit right down, but they didn't understand that. So they argued with me and fought, and now you got to walk all the way in front of everybody. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Make her a way, guys. Make a way for her so she can join us. And then he can join us. How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
I'm awesome. So Glenn said, what are you going to do about that? And I said, when did this become my problem? This is not my problem. And he said, but you said you believed in us and you believe in what you're doing. What are you going to do about this? And I said, how about this? Come on in. Come on in. You're going to have to sit in the front now. And you can sit right here because it's no longer the spit zone because I moved back. So I said, why don't we take 500 people and put them through a 15-week, you can't sit up there. Come on. How many of you know I'm starting to get annoyed? No parking. It's all good. It's all good. And you guys, just so you know, it'll be like that every time. It'll be like that every time. So what does that mean? You just got to come a little earlier. Okay. So I said, why don't we take 500 people and put them through a comprehensive leadership program, and let's take them out of every sector and every silo, and let's take 200 within the municipality. And everybody said, great. And so we did that last year. From September to December, we did that. And a lot of wonderful, come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. Can't sit up there. And so, yeah, you have to figure it out. Could be a daunting task, I realize. So 500 people went through. From every sector, every silo, every neighborhood, every community, all went through. And it was supposed to stop there. That was it. We were done. We weren't doing it again. And they came to me and said, there's a significant amount of interest, both internally and externally, to do it again. And I said, okay, that's fine. We can do it again, except I want to make sure that to broaden this, I want to make sure we add Fort Chip and Janvier. So now what are we doing? So now we're doing it again. We have a community track here in the evenings on Wednesday nights. Got about 100 or so people going through that. We have 2 municipal tracks. We have mid-level leaders, managers, supervisors, and then we have you frontline professionals or so. Some of you may be in a supervisory role. And we have close to 200 there. And then we have Janvier and Fort Chip. Same thing, 15 weeks. So by the time we get done with the second 15 weeks, we'll have close to 1,000 people who have been better equipped to go out and lead within the 4 walls of their organization or outside in the community. Why? Who can tell me why? Why are we doing that? What's the point? To build a community we'd all want to live in. To not be just another boom town that have scattered history, that pittered away the opportunity to build something special. So I don't know why you're here, but you just heard why I'm here. I don't have to be here. If any of you Googled me or whatever, you know I don't have to be here. I can do whatever I want. I do this stuff because I believe in the stuff that I do. I believe in it. And hopefully you're doing this stuff because you believe in it. Now I know some of you are here because you're trading time for money. You come here, you came to Fort McMurray to trade time for money. Maybe you couldn't get a job wherever you were at, I don't know. And you're trading time for money. Others of you have chose to be a public servant very specifically. You want the honor and nobility of working in the public sector. I think it's honorable and noble work. So I don't really care how you got in the door. I just know this. There's thousands of citizens counting on all of us to be great at what we do. Because you do touch every citizen from cradle to grave. Plato said this. Plato said that there was no greater life lived than that committed to public service. Now, he wasn't talking about volunteerism, guys, because there was no volunteerism back then. He was talking about people like you. I did an exploration of history. Now, I'm not the sharpest pencil in the box. You know what? I think I'll stay up here, Tim. I'm not the sharpest pencil in the box. I barely graduated from high school. I didn't go to university. Barely graduated from high school. People always ask me, did you go to college? I say, yep, I walk through there on my way to work every day. But today, life has given me more than I could have ever hoped to have. That is true. And we have had some success, and we've done some cool things, and that is all true. But I'm not the sharpest pencil. Fact is, all of you in this room probably smarter than me. I took the short bus to school. Anybody ever seen the short bus? Short bus, because all the tests that I took said I was developmentally delayed. Couldn't read till, in a meaningful way, I couldn't read till I was 17, 18 years of age. So I'm not very bright. But I'm kind of self-educated. And so I did an exploration of history to look and see what did it take to build a great community. And if you look at all the great societies, there was one constant. And does anybody know what it was? You. You were the constant. People who had committed themselves to working for the public good in all kinds of different forms, in all kinds of different formats. Now, maybe you haven't thought of it in those terms. Maybe you are of the mindset that you're just trading time for money. But I'm telling you how I think of it. I think that your work is important and critical because I know you touch every citizen from cradle to grave, collectively. And I know that you're making decisions and you're working on things that will have a generational impact. People who aren't even born yet will be impacted by what you do collectively as a region. Yeah, but that's all the bosses. The bosses should be hearing this. At the end of the day, who does the work? Right? Who does the work? You do. And your fellow frontline people do as well. So I understand your importance and value. 23,000 frontline employees across North America have gone through some of these programs that we've developed. And the reason we developed them is because I realized that you made a difference. And I also realized that we're in changing times, and the better we could equip you to go make that difference, the greater likelihood we'd build a community we'd all want to live in. So that's backdrop. So you understand this isn't just the next flavor of the month training program that somebody's pushing you through. That's not what this is. And if you watch the orientation video, you probably started to get some inkling of like, this is a little bit different. How many of you watched that when you're like, this isn't the same? The Chubby Brown man is not the same. I'm not the same, and this program's not the same. Because right now, I got a 10-year-old, her name is Nia. I got a 9-year-old, her name is Nadia. I got a little boy, his name is Kian, he's 6, he doesn't speak and doesn't go to the bathroom on his own. Because he's got a thing called autism. So for me to be here for 3 days with you is a burden on my family. So I'm only here because I think you're worth it and you're valuable, and I want to do something special and great. And I hope you're the same. How many already are saying, this isn't what I signed up for? It's not a game or a joke to me, man. It's real. There's thousands of citizens counting on us to be great at what we do. And you're the key to that. And so are the other people in the program as well. All right, take out your handouts. Take out your handouts. Get ready to write. Science says if we write it, read it, hear it, we're more likely to retain it. If I would have had a chance, listen now, if I would have had a chance, I would have sat down and talked with each one of you. Somebody tell me, why did I ask you those 3 questions? What was the point of those 3 questions? What's that? To get to know you. And more specifically, to get to know what you wanted from the program. I read every email you send in. I won't say who it was, but a couple of you sent in some bullcrap responses. And I kicked them back to you, and you know who you are. You sent in, I want to learn more. And I kicked back, what does that mean? Because I read every single one. Now, that's another reason why sometimes it takes me a week or 2 to get back to you, because there's 400 people, and I read every one, and I try to respond personally to every one, so it might take me a little bit of time. So the reason that I ask you those 3 questions is so I know what you want. That way I make sure you get it. So what's your name, sir? Dwayne. So Dwayne sends in, I want to learn this, this, and this. Here's where I think I'm a little short. Here's where I think I need to be a little bit better. And I read that, and I say to myself, okay, I got to make sure Dwayne gets that. And then as the 15 weeks goes along, I keep reviewing those to make sure we get to that thing that you may have wanted to learn. Or, what's your name, sir? Matt. Or I say to Matt, you know what, Matt, you ain't going to learn that. But here's some ideas of where you could go get that information because we're not built or set up to teach that thing you're trying to learn. How many say that's pretty reasonable? That ensures that it's a productive experience for you. So if you haven't filled out the 3 questions, fill them out. So I know what you're hoping to gain and what you're hoping to learn. If I had the time, I would have talked to each and every one of you. I didn't have the time. That's the point of the 3 questions. Now let me tell you what I was thinking about you so that you know where I'm coming from. I'm sure you talked to some of your counterparts who went through it last time, and they may have told you about some strange or unusual or crazy things that you may have been asked to do, having nothing to do with goat's blood or anything like that. I'm just kidding. So, when you hear these 3 reasons or 3 things I assume of you, you'll better understand the context in which they were asked to do certain exercises. So, let's write them down. The first thing I was assuming about you, the first thing I assume about you is that you're a professional. But words are funny things. So let's clarify or define what I mean by professional. Somebody tell me what is a professional. Because my assumption is that you're a professional. So somebody tell me what's a professional. What's that? So they have knowledge in their field. How many of you have been doing what you're doing longer than 10 years? Raise your hand. Okay, all of you that just rose your hand, you have a PhD in your job. No, listen now. To get a doctorate, you have to put in about 10,000 hours of academic, practical study time. 10 years of work would be well over 10,000 hours. 5 years of work, averaging 2,000 hours a year, would be 10,000 hours. If you've put in 5 years of true and deep vocational effort, then you have a significant amount of vocational competency. I would assume that you're a professional. How many of you know somebody that has a whole bunch of fancy letters after their name, but is completely unprofessional? So I'm not talking about professional in the sense that you have fancy letters. I'm talking about professional in the sense that you know what the hell you're doing. You know your task. You're vocationally competent. I assumed that about you. I assumed I was going to spend 15 weeks with people that are vocationally competent. What else does a professional? What else does it mean? Yes?
Takes pride in their work.
Exactly, pride. Some of you may know I used to run or help run a really big hotel casino. And I learned everything about professionalism from the busboys, the maids, the valet parkers, the operators. I learned about professionalism. And one of them specifically, her name was Maria Amazola. She was from Central America. And Maria Amazola was the finest maid I've ever seen. She stuck her head, literally, every day. Her whole life was sticking her head in 15 toilets every day. Because she cleaned 15 rooms a day. She stuck her head in 15 toilets every day. How many of you know? Pretty demeaning. But her rooms were immaculate. I mean, pristine. And I went and met with her one time because I wanted to understand, where did this professionalism come from? Where did this commitment come from? So I went through a translator, we went and met, and I was the director of hotel operations or whatever. Hey, Maria, where does this come from in you? And she said, with all due respect, through the translator, with all due respect, Mr. Hill, I don't work for you. Oh, really? I said, well, okay, explain. She said, I don't work for you, and I don't work for the owner. His name was Mr. Coronel. I don't work for him either. I do my work unto God. Now take it outside of its religious context. What I think that woman was saying to me is, it wouldn't matter who my supervisor is. I do a great job. I do a great job for me because I take pride in my work. How many of you agree with me? In those indefinable split seconds, Maria Amazola taught me more about excellence and commitment than I could ever learn at U of A, Queens, McMaster's, whatever. And that lady had no education, formal education whatsoever. She was a professional because she took pride in her work. Somebody else, what's a professional? What's a professional? What's that? Someone you can depend on. I assume I'm dealing with 100 people that I can depend on. They're professionals. Somebody else. What else is professional? Come on. What's that? Being efficient, being effective, good at their job. How many of you agree with me? A professional also takes personal responsibility for their growth. Ownership. So, whether you are these things or not, I don't know because I don't know you. I'm just telling what I assumed about you when I met you as you walked in the door. And some of you, I actually shook your hand. I'm assuming for 15 weeks, I'm hanging out with what I'm describing right now. And I will assume that about you, Matt, right? I will assume that about you, Matt, till you prove me wrong. So I don't know you beyond right now. And what I just described is what I'm assuming about you. And I will continue to assume that about you till you show me otherwise. Secondly, I'm assuming that I'm dealing with 100 people that want to do something great. So you can just write down, do something great. That you are here because you want to do something great. But let me clarify that. Not just that you want to do something great in work, that you want to do something great with your life. That I'm hanging out with 100 people that want to do something great with their life. And that they want to do something great for themselves, their family, their neighbor, their community, and for people that aren't even born yet. I'm assuming that I'm hanging out for 15 weeks with people that understand they have an opportunity to impact and that they are excited about that opportunity and that they see that they could, in a small way, make the world a better place every day. That I'm dealing with people that want to do something great with their life, not just people that are trading time for money. My assumption is that there's nobody in this room that's just trading time for money. Well, Ian, how could you say that? Well, I know that there are some of you in the room that are just trading time for money. But that's not what I'm assuming about you. I'm assuming that you want to do something great. Third, write this down, that you're going to do it. So just write do it. I'm assuming that I'm dealing with some people that will actually take some of the crazy stuff that we talk about and actually try it. Actually put it into play. Actually attempt some of the things that we talk about. That you'll do it. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. If you want tomorrow to be a little bit better than it was yesterday, then something's going to have to change. I'm assuming that I'm dealing with people that are wise enough to understand that. Not just people that are going through the motions of life, looking at their watch and saying, oh, it's Wednesday, 2 more days to go. Wednesday, 2 more days to go. That's not the kind of people that I'm dealing with. Now, whether those assumptions are true or untrue about you personally, I don't know and I don't care. I'm just telling you the perspective I'm coming from so that 5 weeks from now, when I ask you to do an exercise that seems outlandish, you'll go, oh yeah, he's assuming that we want to do something great with our life. Or, oh yeah, he's assuming that I'm a professional. Oh yeah, he's assuming I'll actually try some of the things that we're talking about. It'll help you understand where we're coming from. Does this make sense to everyone? And would you say that these assumptions are reasonable? Yes or no? Okay, they're reasonable. So, that big goal of developing 1,000 leaders over a 30-week period, 2 times 15, 30-week period, that's a big goal. So you better have a program that can match that. Well, in the essence of the program is this big, big, big dot down there that says you don't need to be sick to get better. Somebody tell me what does that mean? And Tim, I'm walking over here to get this stool. Somebody tell me what you think that means. You don't need to be sick to get better. What does that mean? That you can always improve. What else does that mean? You don't need to be sick to get better. What does that mean to you when you hear that? You don't need to be sick to get better. You can change something. What it means is this. Many of you in this room have forgotten more about what you do than I'll ever know. Many of you have forgotten more about what you do than I will ever know. Many of you have significantly more expertise in certain areas than I will ever have. So this isn't even though I'm sitting on a stage, this isn't a sage on the stage approach where I'm some kind of guru that's going to teach you. It's not it at all. It's more of a guide on the side. We're going to journey together. You have some expertise. What's your name? Gail. Gail has some expertise that she could teach me. I might have some things that I can teach her. We're going to have that exchange of information, and we're both going to be better for it at the end. You don't need to be sick to get better. However, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. All right, turn the page. So, in terms of helping you understand what you can expect, most of you have watched the orientation video, but I just want to unpack really quickly what makes it different besides just the content. What makes it different? How many of you have ever gone to a workshop? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you've gone to a workshop. How many of you ever read a self-help book? Raise your hand. Or listened to some kind of CD, tape, whatever. How many of you, after doing those activities, 10 to 14 days later, nothing changed? Raise your hand. People don't want to raise their hand. But would you be honest with me and say, most of the time in those experiences, nothing changes? The reason for that is because 80% of your behavior is unconscious. 80% of what you do every day is unconscious. It's also known as A starts with an H. I have it. 80% of your behavior is unconscious. It's deeply rooted. How many days does it usually take to establish a new or break a habit? 21 to 28 days, right? So this program is based on two principles of behavioral change. One, 21 days to establish a habit. Two, blended learning. Now, what's blended learning? Some of you in the room learn by hearing. Come on in, sir. Come on in. Find a seat down here. Some of you learn by somebody sitting in that seat. Some of you learn by hearing. Some of you learn by talking. You can't sit back there. So you can come all the way around, walk in front of the camera. That'll be great. The people that are watching the archive will love to see you. That'll be awesome. And then you can sit down there. That's excellent. Very good. Some of you learn by talking. Some of you learn by reading. Some of you learn by doing. Some of you learn by thinking. Blended learning. So, 21 days to establish a habit, blended learning. That will ensure that learning has occurred. And how do I know when learning has occurred? What's the only indicator of learning occurring? Changing the behavior. You're okay. So, learning has occurred when behavior has changed. If you don't change your behavior, that would be like 2 plus 2, and you keep thinking it's 5. I know you have learned something when you've changed behavior. Well, no, but I could take in the information. Agreed. If it doesn't translate into some kind of behavior change, then you didn't learn anything. When behavior changes, then I know you've learned. So those two things combine to ensure that you have a fighting chance to be better at the end of the 15 than you were at the beginning. Sometime during this 15 weeks, I'm going to ask you to tell me what you're going to get better at. You're going to make a physical commitment on the one thing you're going to get better at. And you're going to turn that into me. So what's your name, sir? Okay, so this gentleman he's going to say to me, he's going to say, Ian, here's the one thing I'm going to get better at. And he's going to write it down. And he's going to tell me the steps he's going to take. And then I'm going to hold him accountable to getting better at it. So, not only is the approach take into consideration what it takes to change behavior, there's accountability mechanisms in place. Well, who are you going to share that with? Nobody. That's between me and you. That's it. My staff doesn't even look at it. What's your name in the maroon there? Peter. So Peter's going to send a note to me and say, Ian, here's what I'm going to get better at, and here's my plan. And then between me and Peter for 15 weeks, I'll check in with him. How's that coming? How's that coming? How's that coming? The idea being that the 100 of you, the 60 mid-level leaders, 160 of you all picking out one thing and then working on it for 15 weeks or 13 weeks or whatever, at the end, at the 16th week, are we going to have a better municipality, yes or no? Even if it's just in some small way, we will. Because the cumulative impact of that. That's the strategy here. I'm not asking you to get better at a million things. Now, some of you are so cynical, you're so jaded, and you've been so beaten down and crusty by life that you can't see that. Right? And I'm not mad at you, I'm sad for you. Because that's how things get done. That's how things get done. The cumulative effect is what gets things done. But make no mistake, you'll be asked to make a commitment. And make no mistake, I'll hold you accountable to the commitment that you make. Because wouldn't you expect that out of a world-class program? Otherwise, we're just wasting our time. Otherwise, we're just going through the motions. Why be doing it if we're not going to get better at it? Well, us getting better is based on you. Already, 2/3 or a third of you don't like my style. A third of you don't like my shoes. A third of you don't like my hair, what little I have. And another maybe 10 or 15% of you don't like me because I'm brown. Or that I have an accent because I grew up in the States. You've already discounted me. But hopefully you're enlightened enough to realize it's not on me for your personal growth. You're a professional. It's on you for your personal growth. You're a professional. And hopefully we can have an enlightened enough conversation to realize that what we do is touching every citizen from cradle to grave. How many say that makes sense? So you can expect from us a program that would have some science behind it. If you want to know the science, it's right there. Just read it. Now, here's the other reason why you want to read this. Because you need to know how to change things. There's no safety and security in you staying the same. None. Many of us in North America have bought into a lie. And the lie is this. The lie is that there's safety and security and everything's staying exactly as it is. But the world is ever changing around us. And so if I don't know how to grow my skills, if I don't know how to enhance my abilities, if I don't know how to augment what I already know, then I'll fail. Because the world is ever changing. So safety and security comes from my ability to adapt. It comes from my ability to overcome. It comes in my ability to change. So one of the underlying pieces of all of this will be that I'm hoping that we equip you to know how to change. That you can function in any environment, in any situation, whatever life throws at you, you can adapt. That's a learned skill. That becomes part of the 80% of your unconscious behavior. So not right now, but when you have some time, learn about this thing called change. So that when you see a skill you'd like to adapt, you can do it. When you see a deficiency, whether you point it out to yourself or someone else does, you can rectify it. You learn how to change. Okay, what are we going to learn, Ian? You're going to learn 5 competencies of what I think is effective leadership today. Where did they come from? I was part of a think tank, which is just crazy. How did this guy ever get part of a think tank? But we developed some competencies. What's a competency? What's a competency? An ability. What else is a competency? A skill. What else is a competency? An attitude. So a competency is a complex set of skills, abilities, attitudes, and attributes that make up a thing, that make you good at a chosen job. So to drive a front-end loader takes certain competencies. To cut a diamond takes certain competencies. To be a great NHL player takes certain competencies. Now, in work, there's 2 kinds of competencies. Vocational competency, what's that? What's vocational competency? What's that? Yeah, you're good at your specific task. And whether your trade is driving a plow out on the road, working at the water treatment plant, working in engineering, working in administration, whatever your trade is, vocational competency. You're good at your job. But then there's another competency. It's leadership competency. That's what we're going to be talking about. But I don't have a title, Ian. How many of you know in today's workplace, a lot of people without titles are running the show? Now, usually it's this. How's Jane doing today? Because Jane runs the show. She doesn't have a title, but her attitude, her way of being, all of us walk on eggshells around Jane. How many of you know Jane? How many of you are? No, I don't want to know. So I would suggest to you in today's day and age, leadership is not about title. Leadership is about my ability to get me and others to do things. That's leadership. Ever walked into a high school classroom? The teacher has the title, but some kids running the class. Does that make sense? That's leadership today. So we're going to be talking about this side of the ledger, leadership competencies, 5 of them. 1, can you change something? Do you have the ability to change? Do you have the ability to change you? Do you have the ability to change the environment around you? And whether that's within the 4 walls of RMWB or out in the community because you help run minor hockey, or you volunteer at your place of faith, or you're involved in your neighborhood, whatever. Do you know how to change something? Secondly, I would suggest to you there's not enough time, not enough energy, not enough effort at your disposal to get done everything that needs to get done today in your life. And your responsibilities as parent, your responsibility as spouse, your responsibility as significant other, your responsibility as somebody's child, your responsibility at work, your responsibility outside of work. How many agree with me? Not enough time, energy, or effort at your disposal. So, how do you make it? Systems. Big picture systems thinking. You have to have great systems. Systems to organize yourself. Systems to maximize the utilization of your time. Systems to motivate yourself. Systems to get things done. Systems thinking, big picture holistic systems thinking is the second competency. Third competency, catalyst for responsibility. How do I get another human being to do more than they were doing before and like it. And the like it is important. How many of you agree with that? How do I get another human being to do more than they were doing before and be okay with it and actually be happy about it? Fourth, continuous improvement. How do I sustain this thing? How do I not get burned out and beat up and kicked around? How do I not get like some of the people that I know that have quit and stayed? How many of you know somebody that's quit and stayed? They've quit figuratively, but they've stuck around. And whether they quit and stayed at work or they've just quit and stayed at life. How do I not become that? And then effective planning. How do I build great plans or be a catalyst to build great plans? Those are the things that we'll talk about because it's what I think the times require. There was a business guru named Peter F. Drucker. He said this. He said every couple hundred years in Western history, society rearranges itself. And the society that the grandparents knew is completely different than the society the grandchildren know. He called it a time of transformation. Raise your hand if you think we're in one of those times. Time of transformation. So, these are the leadership approaches I think the times require. And we've used them in hundreds of communities across Canada and the United States. They've proven themselves to be highly effective, to be used by people who may or may not have a title to go out and get things done. That's what we're going to teach in this 21 days to establish a habit approach. So here's how it works. On the first of the 21 days, we meet face to face. We introduce information. Then we reinforce that information for 21 days. Because it's Easter break, it won't be till Tuesday. But on Tuesday, you're going to get an email from me. It's going to have some video. It's going to have some text. It might have an exercise. Why? To reinforce the learning. And then for 21 days after that, we'll reinforce the learning. Halfway through the 21 days, we're going to stop the bus and have a coaching session. How many of you remember that from the orientation? A coaching session. Now, what is that? That means I'm available to you to answer your questions. It might be an anonymous question. I don't know what to do with my boss, Ian. Here's the situation. Might be anonymous. Or it might be very practical. Hey, Ian, I need some help with X, Y, and Z and implementing this with my fellow employees, and they're all bent out of shape about it. What do I do? But for an hour, I will do nothing but be here for you and answer your questions. Now, unfortunately, it won't be live because we can't take the time to bring you all back, or it won't be face-to-face because we can't take the time to bring you all back together. It'll be virtual. So you'll be able to text in your question. You'll be able to chat in your question. You'll be able to Twitter in your question. You'll be able to Facebook in your question. You'll be able to email in your question. And for an hour, I do nothing but answer your questions. We do that in the middle of each 3-week block so that you take and try some of this stuff and then it doesn't work and you can ask some advice. Okay, I tried that thing with that grumpy fellow employee that is such a curmudgeon, that is the most negative person, and I'm trying to turn that around, Ian, and I went and tried your little thing and it didn't work at all. It sucked, in fact. In fact, is Ian, you sucked that I tried it. Right? I didn't like that, Ian. It didn't go well. And so then I can give, hey, try this and try that. So we stop the bus and have an exchange of information to continue the growth. And then at the 22nd day, we meet face-to-face again. That's the process. Any questions about that process? What do I expect from you? I expect you to give your best. I expect you to do the assignments. I expect you that when you send me an email saying, I need help with blank, and I send you a note back, be coachable. If I'm sending you a note back, then listen. Now, maybe I'm way off. Maybe I'm wrong. But at least take it in. If I'm going to take the time to send you a note, take it in. Roll it around. If it makes sense, try it. If it doesn't, then just say, that doesn't make sense, Ian. I don't agree. Fair enough. But at least you were coachable. And then honest feedback. Do not send me feedback and say, I don't like your style. Who cares? However, if there's something that we said would happen and it doesn't, I need to know immediately so that I can fix it. The portal doesn't work, you didn't get an email, blah, 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 blah. Things that we say are going to happen. If they don't, tell me so we can immediately fix it right now. And we try to be as timely as we can in the service, both Jeff and Gina and the others, they are pretty good about getting back to things right away and trying to service you right away. And if that's not happening, let me know so I can rectify it. Look at what the great Italian philosopher said. He said, nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to attempt, and more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. The regional municipality of Wood Buffalo, Fort McMurray, and all the other communities combined are trying to introduce a new order of things. It cannot be easy to be an employee in this environment because of the constant change, because of the rapid impact, because of the extreme expansion and transformation that's occurring. But on the other hand, you have the opportunity to build something. When does that come along in somebody's life? That you can say, I was a part of those years when we formulated the community, when we built the city center, when we organized the roads and the bridges and this and that and the processes and the systems, and I got to be a part of building a community. How many of you know that doesn't happen much in the 21st century anymore? You don't get that chance. Well, that's the chance you have. But the downside to that is you can't park, you can't drive, you can't this, you can't that. We're going this direction, then we're going that direction, and there's a new manager, and there's a this, and How many of you have that t-shirt? And it got a hole in it. So that's this. It's the yin and yang, right? It's the yin and yang. But I think if we can help you be a better leader, then we can, to some degree, smooth out those rough spots. All right, turn the page. So like Drucker said, we're in a time of change. Tell me how things have changed. Somebody tell me how things have changed. How have things changed? Technology. Technology has changed things. Anybody ever heard this song? I'm sailing away. Anybody heard that song? Catching open up oh the tragedy. Anybody went to school in 1984, you know the song I'm talking about. What's the name of that song? Come sail away, right? Styx. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with... How many remember that song? Did you see the thing in the Globe and Mail? Did you see this? That REO Speedwagon, Journey, and Styx were all the same guys. No, nobody gets that. Anyways, because they all looked exactly the same, didn't they? So, remember this song. Remember that song. Come sail away, come sail away. Now, you're driving down the road in whatever town you were from, and your mullet was blowing in the wind, any of you guys. And how do you know if a man had a mullet when he was a kid? If he's bald or balding today, then he had a mullet. How do you know that? Because God looks down and says, if you can't take care of it, I'm taking it away. That's not true. Yes, it is. So you're driving down. Now listen, this is very important, how things have changed. You're driving down the road, and that song comes on the radio. You and I, we're in my Firebird. It was a Camaro. Firebird. Mullet blowing in the wind. Styx is on the radio. It's 11:15 at night on a Friday night. We're going out to wherever we party, and we're going. Come sail away. Come sail away. Come sail away with me. And I looked over at you, and I was like, dude, I love that song. And you were like, yeah. How many remember Fast Times at Ridgemont High, right? Yeah. And we were like, love that song, dude. When could I get that song? 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday night, when could I get the song? 9 a.m. when? The next day on Sunday? I don't remember in 1984 the record store being over at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I could probably get it on Monday afternoon, unless I ditched school. How many of you ditched school? And how many songs would I have to buy to get the one song? I would have to buy an album. Young lady, it was a round thing. It was about this big. And if you say 8-track tapes, I will slap you. For you, Ian, it was an 8-track tape. Okay, now check this out. I had to wait to get what I wanted. And I didn't just have to wait an hour. I had to wait. All right, come with me to my little home. And I got my little Nadia. She is 9, just turned 9. And I'm in my man cave, better known as the home office. And in comes little Nadia a few months ago, bounding in on a Sunday afternoon, bounding in. Boing, boing, boing. She's a little sprightly girl. Hi, Daddy. And I said, hi, Nadia. And she said, Daddy, can I talk to you? And I was like, sure. Just do me a favor, move 3 feet to the right. You're blocking the game. Just move right over there. That's very good. And she said, Daddy, have you ever heard of Miley Cyrus? And I was like, yes, I've heard of Miley Cyrus. Don't be like her. And she said, Daddy, have you heard of her new song, whatever it is, Ho Down, Low? Anybody got little kids? Ho Down, Low Down, Mow Down, whatever it's called. I said, yeah. Why, Nadia, is that important? I love that song. I was like, you love that song? I love that song. Okay. Why does that matter? Because, Daddy, I want you to know I just bought that song. How did you buy that song? I bought that song on iTunes. You have an iTunes account? Gina! That's my wife. Gina! How did Nadia get up? Oh, no, Daddy. I used your iTunes account. I said, Nadia, how do you know the password to my iTunes account? Well, it's Nadia. And I said, well, how do you know that? And she went just like this. Well, what else would it be? Now stop. Funny, little silly story out of my life. Fundamental shift in our society. I had to wait. Instant. Write this down in some white space. User-driven. We are now living in a user-driven society. Almost every institution that you interface with gives you the impression that, or the reality that you have a say. How about TV? How many of you remember a time in your life when you were a kid that the whole family organized itself around a certain time on a certain day to watch a certain show? How many remember those days? How many remember these days? Ian, change the channel. Oh, damn, dude. It was a thing called a channel changer. We didn't have those. We had to do like this, young lady. How many remember that? How many remember this? Move your arm, move your knee, move it. I think I watched every sporting event like this. When can I watch something today? Oh, whoa. Now, let's be clear. I can watch it when I want, where I want, on the platform I want. I just gave you 2 fundamental ways that life has changed. Anecdotal, I'll agree, but would you agree with me? Fundamental change in life. Drucker was right. We're in a time of transformation. How many of you remember a time when your parents scrambled on a Friday to get to the bank by 5 o'clock? Because if they didn't get there by 5 o'clock, we didn't have money that weekend. Today, I can get my money in 495,000 locations anywhere across Canada. I can email you damn money. Right? Fundamental change. What has that done to our society? Stop now. What has it done? Don't judge it. Don't say good, bad, right, wrong. I don't judgment, no judgment. But what has it done? What's that? Okay, it's made it easier. How many would say easier, better, I don't know, but faster? How many would agree with me citizens expect to be served faster? How many would agree with me that citizens are more sophisticated than ever before? In other words, they have more information. Would you agree? Yes? Go ahead. Yeah, because every other institution that they interface with serves them immediately, when in the past they had to. This is called context. If you want to be an effective leader today, you better look at the context that you're operating in. I didn't say you had to have a title. You just need to understand the context. Give me some other changes that have occurred. Give me some other changes. What's that? Less social interaction. On one hand, we're more connected than ever before, but on the other hand, less connected. Would you agree with me that you find society to be less trusting than it's ever been in your lifetime? Raise your hand if you agree with that. Would you agree that society is less civil? Like a couple of you walked up and I was like, hi. And you were like, who's the crazy man? Why is he saying hello to me? Don't make eye contact with me. Don't make eye contact. Ah! Am I right or wrong? Whereas in the past, we'd be like, hey, how you doing? Hey. Now we're like, serial killer, ah! That's how some of you are like. Chubby brown man, I don't know who he is. No eye contact. Because society is less civil, but on the other hand, we're more connected. That's because we're less trusting. Who can tell me why we're less trusting? We don't know each other. There's no sense of community. We live together. We share the buying and selling and consuming of goods together, but we don't necessarily have community.
We know people on teams, we have access to more information.
Say it.
We have access to more information, so we know more than we do.
So we might be a little bit more jaded. We might be a little bit more cynical. And how about this? Leaders have let us down. Even the most iconic organizations that were the most trusted, we don't trust anymore. How many of you agree? From faith institutions to charities to governments, we don't trust anymore. All the more reason why the local government must be able to be trusted. Because you cannot have a free society if people don't trust their institution of government. Now, we've never trusted government far, far away in North America. It's just been an assumption we didn't trust them. But the people close, we went to church with them or synagogue or mosque with them. We hung out with them. We ate with them. Their kids played with our kids. We trusted them. We knew them. But how many of you say even those days are gone? That's not good. That's not good for us in a free society, guys. You cannot run a free society with everybody walking around not trusting each other, because we have to count on each other. And I don't care how many cool devices we have. And I think that everything that's ever been in Star Trek would someday be a reality. It'll take you a second to catch that one. See, I told you, it'd take you a second to catch that one. No matter how sophisticated we get, we still need each other. We got to be trusting of people, but we don't trust people today. And whether it's the family unit, whether it's economics, whether it's people from a lot of different places, a lot of different colors, a lot of different backgrounds, and whether new means Newfoundland or new means Mumbai, we got a whole bunch of new going on. How many of you agree with that? So, things have changed. Would you agree that we've made the case that there's been fundamental change? So do you think we can lead like we have in the past? No. Probably not. It's probably a safe assumption that you can't. The days of the autocratic, let me scream at you and bark at you to tell you what to do leadership, no one's putting up with that anymore. I didn't say people will quit their jobs or leave. People have mortgages to pay. But people will do this. Sure, you keep barking at me all you want, and I'll work 8 hours against you for the next 20 years. How many of you know that attitudinal barrier? So remember, I'm not talking about people quit. They don't quit. Nowadays they don't quit. They just go like this. Okay, smart guy. We'll see who really runs the show around here. How many of you have that t-shirt? Yeah. Leadership today is not about intimidation. It's not about barking. It's about my ability to build trust with another human being and influence them. For the first time in the history of mankind, you could lead the change. And we see it all over the world. We see it all over the world. Regular people leading change all the time. Here's the funny thing about organizations. Organizations. This is usually the stated mission of an organization. The stated mission of an organization. The stated mission of an organization. But within that, here's what you usually have going on. How many of you ever worked in this department? I'm not saying you work there now. We're filming this. We're not saying you work there now. However, for the first time in the history of mankind, the people involved can get all the arrows moving in the right direction. Each arrow understanding the goal, each arrow understanding the role, and each arrow understanding what winning is. How many of you would like to work here? Raise your hand if you'd like to work here. Well, for the first time in the history of mankind, you can help make it this. It's not, you can't always do it by yourself, but you have more power than ever before to make it like this. You combine with mid-level leaders and executive leaders making it like this. What is challenging for you is you're in a time of transformation. So this is the norm usually in transformational times. Not because anyone's bad, just because there's a lot going on. To move it from here to there, something's going to have to, it's probably not going to be your boss, but something's going to have to, probably not going to be Glenn, but something's going to have to, what's the only thing you can control? So the first step in moving from here to there is getting this arrow going in the right direction. Yeah, but Ian, you don't know how I've been screwed over. You don't know how they treated me like crap. You don't know how I had an opportunity to advance and they pulled it out from underneath me. You don't know how I get beat up every day by my boss as a jerk. You don't know all that. No, I don't. And maybe what I've said in your existence is a part of your own reality. Perhaps. It could be. I don't doubt that. Not everything's lollipops and roses. I've been around the block a number of times. I realize that. But I also realize the only thing you can control is you. That's it. You can't control anything else. So why not get the skills, why not get the toolkit filled with things that you can use to help your existence be better tomorrow than it was yesterday? Would you say that's reasonable? So what kind of leader is most effective in these changing times? Leaders that have the ability to marshal human capital. What do you think that means, human capital? What's human capital? What's that? Okay, the place that people fill, is that what you said?
No, they place people first as a priority.
Okay, they place people first as a priority. But give me some forms of human capital. There's natural capital, right? There's investment capital, money. And then there's human capital. Somebody give me some examples of human capital. What's that?
Well, they can't get anything.
What's human capital?
You, me, and
Now give me some forms of you and me. Give me some forms of human capital. Take it one step deeper. Okay, time is a form of human capital. Write that down. Time is a form of human capital. What else is a form of human capital? Talent is a form of human capital. What else is a form of human capital? Work. Sweat is a form of human capital. What else is a form of human capital? Knowledge is a form of human capital. How about this? Creativity, love, compassion, energy, enthusiasm. Would you say that all of these are forms of human capital? So here's leadership today. Without a title, do you have the ability to get somebody else to take some of their time, their energy, their talent, their ability, and move it in the same direction as you? That's leadership. That's the ability to marshal human capital. And because we trust leaders less than we ever have, because we don't believe in institutions the way we've done in the past, you actually could move a person. When you go on a trip and you leave beautiful Fort McMurray, when you make your purchasing decision of the hotel, the resort, the plane, the whatever you go on, do you go to the organization's website or do you go to someplace else? Where do you go? How many would say you go to TripAdvisor or something like that? Why? What is it? Real life account is influencing you. So are you being influenced by the expert? Are you being influenced by the $1 billion ad campaign? What are you being influenced by? Other people just like you. You're spending $1,000, $2,000, and $3,000 based on some stars. You guys aren't getting it. For the first time in the history of mankind, other people like you are influencing you. You're not buying into the leader. I think you can do that in the workplace. By building credibility, by building believability, by building trust with another human being, you can influence decision. And they can be above you, they can be parallel to you, they can be below you, they can be all around you. And if you don't think I'm true, just look in society today and look at your own purchasing habits. You're making purchases based on other people's recommendations, their influence on you. Getting these arrows going in the right direction. So do you know how, young lady, what's your name? If Sarah could become more skilled at that, do you think she could be a more effective leader, yes or no? That's marshaling human capital. I don't need a title. I just need to know how to build a trusting relationship. I need to know how to be a catalyst for change and so on. You're raising your hand. No, you weren't. So, for the first time, I think you can marshal human capital. Now, Ian, can you prove that? We've done 160 projects, 7 of which have never been done before, and we didn't have a title, and we didn't have any money, and we didn't have any influence, but we were able to marshal human capital of people to get something done. That's leadership in its essence. So what are those key components? Leaders today provide direction when other people don't have it. You don't need a title for that. Leaders pay attention to what's going on around them and understand it and then can do something with it and about it. Leaders are authentic, they're direct, and they're known for being genuine. Do all of you have the ability in this room to be authentic, direct, and genuine? Yes or no? Then you all have the capacity for leadership. So that's what we're looking at teaching. How do you do that? How do you do that so you can make your own situation better? And how do you do that to make the situation of others better? Turn the page. And get to the page that talks about change, this page right here, that mine is covered in coffee. Why do we hate change? Somebody tell me why we hate change. Why do we hate change? Afraid of failure. Why else? Unknown, uncomfortable. Why else? Why else? What's that? Our position could be displaced if we change. How about this? I heard an old guy say to me one time, because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. So we don't like change. Change. What it says here in this little block is right. Progress and change are indelibly intertwined. There can be no progress without change. Write this down. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals what? 10. If I want that to be different, if I want that to be 11, what has to happen? I have to change something, don't I? Something has to change. If I just do this, 2 plus 4 plus 1 plus 3. How many of you ever sat in that meeting where your supervisors come and tell you we're making big changes around here, and then they do that right there? And everybody slaps, high fives each other. Oh, it's awesome. Woo! Great meeting. It's awesome. Yeah, it was a great meeting. Woo! And then 3 weeks later, it's exactly the same. How many of you ever sat in that meeting? Because nothing really changed. Change means change. Progress and change are indelibly intertwined. There can be no progress without change. Einstein said it better. Everything within me was only enough to get me to where I'm at today, he said. If I want to go any further, if I want to be any better, something's going to have to change. He was one of the smartest men that ever lived, and he said he needed to change. I've given you some fundamental and anecdotal ways that life has changed. So you can almost assume that there's some areas where you need to change to keep up with the transformational change that's gone on around you. Why is that so hard? Who can remember? Why is that so hard? Why is that so hard? When the world changes around you, why is it so hard to keep up? Because 80% of your behavior is unconscious. So it's not that you're bad, it's not that you're wrong, it's not that you're broken, it's not that you're remedial. It just means that things change rapidly around you, and here you are flat-footed because you don't know how to change. You might not have a process for change. So when rapid change occurs, you're caught because you got some habits ingrained. They worked before. How many of you have tried some things over the last couple of years that used to work before for you and they're not working so much anymore? Because life changed. But that doesn't mean you're bad. So, change. Why don't we change? All the reasons you said. Why are people reluctant and afraid? Because of all the reasons you said. So you must have a process for change. On Monday morning, Tuesday because of the break, Easter holiday. On Tuesday morning, you're going to get an explanation of a process for change. That's the advantage of hanging out 3 weeks at a time. You're going to get an explanation of a process for change. A linear step-by-step process. Somebody tell me, share with me the process you use now when you want to change. Somebody tell me, what do you do now when you want to change something? When somebody points out a deficiency, points out an issue, a challenge that you have, how do you change? Or when you want to acquire a new skill, how do you acquire it? Somebody tell me how you change now. What's that? Okay, you do a little research. Then what do you do?
Then I try to apply it.
Try to apply it. So you get some information and try it. Okay? I mean, not good, not bad, not right, not wrong. How many of you just try harder? I'll just try harder. Somebody points out to me I need to get better at something, so I try harder. And how many of you that's failed? Usually it fails because you don't have a process that does involve research, but involves a number of other steps. Well, where did your change process come from, Ian? Failure. Deep and utter failure. Lose everything. They come and take your car and take your house and take your stuff away. Failure. Moral failure. Don't sleep in this house anymore. Get out. Never see me again kind of failure. How many of you know what I'm talking about? My wife should have kicked my butt to the curb a long time ago. But she hangs in because she's a wonderful woman. And I'm a good talking guy. Notice I didn't say I was a good looking guy, just a good talking guy. And so she hangs. But she should have kicked me to the curb a long time ago. Because I'm entrepreneurial. So we have great success and we have tremendous failure. That's this, right? So after one of these, I said, holy crap, I got to change. So we went out and did as much research as we could about change. And this is what we came up with. So don't send Anthony Robbins $1,500 in 3 easy payments. Don't do that. Just pay attention on Monday morning. We'll give you a linear process for change. And some of you, after you've watched that 9-minute video, you'll go like this. I don't like that. I don't like your little change process, chubby brown man. And I'll look back at you and say this. Cool, I don't care. But if you want to make it in the 21st century, you better have one. Because if you think we're done changing, you're crazy. How many of you agree with that? So it's in your best interest to have in your toolkit the ability to change. I'll give you a change process, and if you don't like mine, that's fine. Go find one and put it in your toolkit for your own mental health, for the mental health of your family and those around you. Have a process for change. All right, turn the page. Turn the page. You and I are challenged. In all this change that is going on in society, we're challenged. Sit down. In all of the things that are going on in society, we're challenged. Would you agree with me that society, whether intentionally or unintentionally, beats the crap out of us? How many of you would agree with that? It just does. I don't know why. When we're this high, we believe everything is possible. Every dream, every hope, every attempt, everything. Would you agree? When you were this high, you would climb up the banister at your house, fall, stumble all the way down the stairs, and what were you doing 5 minutes later? You were climbing. But by the time we get to be about this high, we don't have that enthusiasm and energy for life anymore. Why? What's that? It gets beaten out of you. Remember when you were in grade 4 and the teacher asked a question and you raised your hand, and if you were like me, a good ADD kid, you raised your hand like this. And the teacher called on you and you blurted out the answer and it was wrong, and what did everybody in the class do? Everybody laughed. And I know if you're like me, I went like this. I'll never answer a question again. And I didn't. That's why I didn't pass any classes, because I wasn't going to humiliate myself again. And I would rather punch you in the face than read out loud. That's why I got kept on getting thrown out of class, because I knew I didn't know how to read, so I would just punch you in the face. They'd be like, okay, Ian, you're next. Boom. And you would think after a while they would see the pattern, right? You'd think kids would be like, crap, Ian's up next. Move away, move away, move away. And you get knocked down a little bit, and you get beat around a little bit, and you get kicked down a little bit. And you stop believing that tomorrow can be better than yesterday. If the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo, Fort McMurray, Fort Fitzgerald, Fort Chip, all the way down to Janvier, Conklin, Anzac, all points in between, if this really is going to be a great place, a beacon of hope to other communities of what a community in the 21st century could be like, we're going to have people that believe tomorrow can be better than yesterday. I mean, that's fundamental. Because we can't do innovative and creative things with a bunch of people that don't think things are possible. Does that make sense? But there is a barrier to that. And the barrier is this thing that I'm talking about. When we go from here to here, we don't believe as much anymore. We don't believe that tomorrow can be better than it was yesterday. Does anybody know how many people have lived on the planet? How many people have lived on the planet? Anybody know?
7 billion, 8 billion?
Actually, 70 billion. They say, science tells us that 70 billion, write that number down. So it's 70, comma, 000, comma, 000, comma, 000. 70 billion people have lived on the planet. Does anybody know what science says about you? Science says there's never been anybody like you. Science says there'll never be anybody like you. Science says that you're a rare and unique creature with incredible talent and ability. That's what science says. How many of you, and I mean this sincerely, raise your hand if you have somebody you love in your life. Okay? I want you to write down 3 names of people that if you, at the end of this 15 weeks, were a little bit better, you'd make their life better. I'm sincere. You better be writing. I want you to write down 3 names of people that if you were better at the end of the 15 weeks, their life would be better. Ugh. Never wear the low-riding jeans when getting up and down like that. Your butt crack going to be showing the whole time. And you know how I've become an old man? I don't care. I don't care. I'll be like, my butt crack's showing. So what? It doesn't matter. I'm an old man. Why am I asking you to write down 3 names of 3 people whose lives could be positively impacted if you actually picked out one thing and worked at it for the next 15 weeks? Why am I asking you to do that? Because it's a commitment to those 3 people as well. Why else? What's that? Show you you can do it. Why else? What's that? To prove you're a leader. And what did you say, young lady?
So the people you're around, the people you love, to show them that you can change.
They can make a difference in their lives.
All of those reasons and this. 1, to show you that you have an impact on people's lives, good or bad. 2, if you're not motivated to get yourself in order and be a little bit better for you, then I'm trying to show you some names of people that could benefit. And why you might want to take this process seriously. Because someone else's life could be positively impacted. How many of you have kids under 12? Raise your hand. So do I. I got to get better over the next 15 weeks. I've got to be ready to come to you and make some commitments so that Nia and Nadia and Kian's lives are better. It's not a game for me, guys. Not a joke for me. If I'm going to take 3 days away from my family, 3 days away from little Nia, 3 days away from little Nadia, and 3 days away from little Kian, who doesn't speak because he has this thing called autism. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. He doesn't go to the bathroom on his own, which means how many of you know my wife's going through hell for these 3 days? So if I'm going to sacrifice my family's time, then let's all take this thing serious. So the reason I'm having you write those names down is so you'll look at those names when you don't feel like doing the assignments. And you'll look at the names when you don't feel like reading the stuff. And you'll look at the names and you'll say, you know what, okay, I'll stick to this thing for them. If you can't do it for you, then stick to it for them. How many say that's reasonable? That's a beautiful ring, brother. No, it's all right, because you know what? I love that an actual ring. Thank God. Woo! A ring! The only thing that would have been better if it would have been like, bring, bring. But it was close. So, now here's the challenge for you. The challenge for you is what I said earlier. From here to here, something happened. Already, some of you today have been like, this is crap, it won't work, it's nonsense, yada, yada, yada. And then you floated back and forth between, well, yeah, maybe I can buy in, but no, it's all crap. Oh, maybe I can buy in. Oh, it's all crap. So the three names, can you do it for them? And do you have the horsepower to believe, or have you become so jaded and crusty you don't believe tomorrow can be better than yesterday? That 70 billion thing, let me tell you where that came from. There was a guy, when I was a kid, I was adopted. I was adopted in a place called Iran. Anybody ever heard of Iran? Or as I like to say, Iran. Anybody ever? Iran. I was born in a place called Iran. Yeah, I was. That's where I was born. And I was picked up by a United States Air Force sergeant who, for 2 cases of scotch, grabbed me in a hospital. True story. And brought me to the United States. And I was raised in the States. But it's been my Canadian experience that's changed me as a man. I'm a better man because of Canada. I'm a better dad. I'm a better husband. I'm a better man because of Canada. Some of you probably Googled, because that's the trend today, and you saw all the projects we've done from coast to coast, helping build playgrounds and skate parks and fitness parks all over the country. And people always ask me why. Because of what Canada gave me. And I don't know what Canada's given you. I don't know what gift Mother Canada gave you. I had Father U.S., Mother Canada. I don't know what gift it's given you. But I hope that you'll thoughtfully consider over this 15 weeks how you can make it better. I didn't used to think that way. I didn't think I had anything to offer. When you're adopted and then your adopted mother dies and your adopted father leaves and you live in all kinds of different homes, you start to think you're a piece of crap. Especially when the people charged with your care take advantage of you and do things to you that I can't even talk about in public, both men and women. I can't even talk about in public what happened. And so I didn't believe the world could be anything but crap and hell until a guy came along. A guy came along and he asked me how many people had lived on the planet. There's a little red button, it's called off. Very good. I can be happy to show you the instructions later. Anyways, so this guy, he comes along and he sees this kid, me, and he sees that I've become very cynical and I hate life and I hate people and I'm not a happy camper. And he asked me how many people have lived on the planet, just like I asked you. How many people have lived on the planet? And I said, I have no idea. And he says 70 billion people have lived on the planet. And I said, what does that matter to me? And he said, here's what science says about you, Ian. Science says that 70 billion people have lived on the planet and there's nobody like you. There's never been anybody like you. There'll never be anybody like you. 70 billion people have lived on the planet, Ian, and you're a rare and unique creature. And I still didn't get it. So he took off his watch and he said, Ian, if there was 70 billion of this watch, and there was one that was rare and unique, one that was handcrafted and handmade, one that was unlike all of the others, how much would it be worth? I'm going to ask you the same question. If there was 70 billion of this watch, one that was rare and unique, one that was handcrafted and handmade, how much would the unique one be worth? Priceless. That's you. I don't care what your mama said. I don't care what your spouse said. I don't even care what that little voice in your head says. I'm telling you what science says. Science says that you're a rare and unique creature with incredible talent and ability. 70 billion people have lived on this planet. There's nobody like you. If all of these arrows are going to get going in the right direction, the only way that will begin is people that believe it's possible. Would you agree with that? So if we got a whole bunch of people that don't believe it's possible, it never will be. So it begins with belief. So if we're going to take a 15-week journey, we've got to do an inventory. What's an inventory? What's an inventory? A count of. We got to do a count. We got to do a count of what we have. There's this document that Augmendino wrote. He does an evaluation of who you really are. I don't know what happened from here to here. I don't know. I just know the day that Bill Bell, his name's Bill Bell, the day that Bill Bell sat down and explained that to me, I realized my history was not my destiny. I realized I wasn't developmentally delayed like every test said. I realized that just because I took the short bus to school didn't mean I couldn't do something with my life. that I had ability and I had capacity. And although you might be smarter than me, and although you might be brighter than me, and although you might have a better family than me, that didn't mean I couldn't do something with my life. Which means you have talent and you have ability and you can do something great. So the question, the simple question is, the very, very simple question is, what do you believe? Do you believe tomorrow can be better than yesterday? Let me give you some scientific basis for this. How many of you have the ability to see? Raise your hand if you can see. Well, if you do have the ability to see, and not everyone does, but if you have the ability to see, that means you have millions of receptors in your eyes that give you the capacity to see a sunset, give you the capacity to see a bird fly through the sky, to see the look of love. You have a unique capacity. Not everyone does, but many of us have the ability to hear, which means somehow 24,000 fibers in each one of your ears vibrates and translates sound somehow in your brain to meaning. And you can hear a baby cry and it touches your heart. Or you can hear someone laugh and it brings you joy. Or you can hear someone say, I love you, and it has meaning to you. How many of you have the ability to speak? Unlike any other animal on the planet. Do you know how hard it is to be a guy who can talk a dog off a meat truck? I can talk a dog off a meat truck, young lady. I was in Texas one time and a guy said, you could talk a dog off a meat truck. And then he took like 3 steps. He did. He took like 3 steps. He popped up his cowboy hat and looked back and said, I mean a hungry dog. You know how frustrating it is to be able to talk a dog off a meat truck and look at your little boy and he can't say, I love you, Daddy? Come on now. The ability to speak, unlike any other one of God's creatures. You know what you can do with your words? You can lift a human being up that wants to stop and die and be done with their life. You can goad the quitter. You can encourage the despondent. You can use your words to lift up. Or you can use your words to make a cutting comment in a meeting that draws a laugh from everybody in the room at someone else's expense. You can use the words to tell stories and gossip behind somebody's back and destroy their reputation within the workplace. Or you can choose to say nothing as others abuse and take advantage of weak and people who are downtrodden. What will you do with your capacity to speak? Or how about your skin? You know your skin? You know your skin with just a little soap and a little water protects you unlike any other defense system could protect the most precious gold. The sensory system you have, all of the receptors that you have, it's unlike anything man could design. How about your brain? You know there's no computer in the world that can touch your brain. I am dumb as a box of rocks. That's what they used to call me in high school, box of rocks, just so you know. Because I was dumb as a box of rocks. I thought it was an appropriate name. I don't think that today. It was better than sack of shovels. I thought it was better than that. But did you know that every thought, everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever heard, every image, everything is up here. And you could pull it out. No computer in the world could touch your brain. So don't tell me we can't defeat the pedophile. Don't tell me we can't take on the drug dealer. Don't tell me we can't come up with new systems and processes to make the RMWB more efficient and effective for citizenry. Don't tell me we can't figure out a way to get along. Come on now. I could line the walls with people who had less than you have and have done more than we'll ever do. Am I right or wrong? But do you believe it? See, you're not going to be very effective in this program if you don't do an inventory of who you are. So you got to do an inventory before you begin the journey. So somebody might be wondering, well, why is this first 3 weeks called Ignite the Fire? Because it isn't a trite marketing term. It's about inertia, the physical law of motion called inertia. The physical law of motion called inertia says this: a thing in place tends to stay in place. A thing on a trajectory tends to stay on that trajectory unless what? Who knows? Unless what? There is a force greater than the one being applied. Many of you in this room are affected by inertia. You've got stuck in a rut. It might sound like this. I don't know. That's just what we do around here. Would you agree with me families get caught in inertia? Yes or no? Would you agree with me departments get caught in inertia? Yes or no? Would you agree with me whole communities get caught in inertia? Yes or no? The only way to overcome inertia is there must be a force applied that's greater than the one being applied now. So for the first 3 weeks, we're going to try to overcome inertia. Today and the next 3 weeks, how are we going to do that? We're going to look introspectively. So over the next 3 weeks and just beyond that, I'm going to give you some exercises to get you to look in your life and figure out where the 80% of your behaviors came from. Did they come from your dad? Did they come from your mom? Did they come from your first boss? Did they come from your worst boss? Did they come from your teacher, your coach, your whoever, your aunt, your uncle? Did they come from a tragic life experience? Did they come from a great life experience? Or was it a combination of all of those things? And did it organically grow up and take hold? Or did you intentionally develop it? But either way, is it what the times require? So step number 1, do you believe you have something to offer? Because all of you do. But do you believe it? And step number 2, let's look within ourselves to see how we became who we are as we prepare for the journey. How many say that makes sense? So let me give you kind of a highlight of the next couple weeks as we get ready to wrap up. Highlight number 1, on Tuesday morning, because of the Easter break, you're going to get that video and that email on change. Watch it. Hey, but wait a minute, I don't have an email or we don't have a computer in my workplace. Get with somebody from EDSSSSSS. Raise your hand, please, young lady. Get with her. Is it who are you? Amy. I'm sorry, Amy. Have we met before? No, I don't think so. But I've seen your name on the emails. Right? So get with Amy or get with Jana or get with Heidi or get with Karina, and they'll help you make sure you can get to an email. Right? Yes. Just say yes. We'll figure it out later. What's that? Oh, she'll be, okay, don't get with her, she'll be in Cuba. But, I mean, note to self, don't say stuff like that, people will hate you for it. But anyways, somebody from EDSSS will be able to help you get to an email. Because we did have last time, we had a couple people that didn't have access to email, and then somebody from EDSS went and made sure they got access to it at a computer or whatever. So that'll be on Tuesday morning. The following Monday morning, you're going to get that leadership history survey that you see in your packet. Leadership history survey. 12 questions. What are the 12 questions meant to do? They're meant for you to look back so we can move forward. They're 12 questions. Ian, I don't have time to answer 12 questions. Okay, if you don't have time to write down 12 questions, then all I want you to do is take a couple a day and think about them. Then in the coaching session, 2 Thursdays from now, I'll explain what it means. I can't come to the coaching session. Then what do you know? What do you know if you can't come to a session? What do you know from watching the orientation? If you can't come to a session, or if you lose the material, or if you can't have your hand out, what do you know? Where do you go? You go to the learning portal because it's all there for you. And how long will it all be there for you? 24/7. It'll be there forever. Well, what if I want to take some of this information and share it with my Girl Guides group? Do it. What if I want to take it and share it with the minor hockey board? Do it. What if I want to use it with my group of whatever and this and that? Do it. You can share it, you can use it, you can have it. I don't care what you do with it. That's the whole point. Let's grow the leadership capacity of the community. So you'll have this available to you forever to be able to revisit it and come back to it. So that exercise, the leadership history survey, not this coming week, but the following week. And then we'll have more things after that. Don't turn that in. You're just doing it for yourself to get, and then you'll get the explanation in the coaching session. All right, turn the page. Not today. So this page right here. Not today. We've got 4.5 minutes left. Not today. But someday, in the coming days, I will ask you to respond to these 5 questions. So start thinking about them now. Somebody read the first question out loud, nice and loud.
What will be your greatest contribution to your family?
Okay, so these are real questions. These aren't just some kind of wondering questions. How many agree with me? One of the things that has changed is that in our society, there's this impression that leaders put themselves before others. That more and more times we've seen leaders put themselves before others. I think the times require leaders that will be able to answer these questions and who proactively answer them. Not leaders with titles, but people of influence. That's you. You're a person of influence. So question number 1 of these life's 5 most urgent questions, what will be your greatest contribution to your family? Somebody read question number 2. Come on.
What will be your greatest contributions to those you serve?
So all of us in this room serve somebody, within our home, outside of our home. What will be your greatest contribution to those you serve? Why are those you serve better off because you were serving them? Somebody read question number 3.
What will be your greatest contributions to those you've led?
All of us in this room lead somebody. Our kids, peers, inside the organization, out in the community. Why are they better off because you were the leader? Hey, let's be clear. There can be no passengers on this ship called a free society. All right, somebody read number 4.
What will be your greatest contributions to your organization?
In a day and age where we think people are lucky to have us, well, you're lucky to have me. You're lucky to have me here at RMWB. We don't know how lucky you are. Really? Okay. But why are we better off because you were around? What was your legacy? What did you leave? Did you leave a process, a system, a new way of doing business? Did you leave goodwill? Did you lift people up every day? Why are we better because you were here? Somebody read number 5.
What will be your greatest contributions to your community?
Why is this community or society a better place because of you? Those 5 questions I will ask you to turn in. Not today, and not actually anytime soon. Why do you think I would ask you these questions, and why do you think I will eventually ask you to turn them in? Why do you think?
See if you learned anything about yourself.
Okay, see if you learned anything about yourself. Why else? Come on, think now.
By writing it down, you put some stuff on paper and set a commitment to do it.
Okay, make a commitment to do it. But why these questions? What do you notice about these questions? It's what you're going to do for others. That's called leadership. It's not takership, right? Somebody else. What you find or see or believe in yourself. Somebody else. Why? What's that? What's important to you? If you want to be a person of influence, if you want to be a person that can get things done, I think we're all longing for leaders who put these kind of questions in the forefront of their mind. They say, most behavioral scientists say, that somebody that has a direction in life is more likely to be followed. How many of you will absolutely not follow someone that doesn't have a clue of where they're going? Or are you more likely to follow someone that has a direction? Do you think these kind of questions force a conversation of direction for you personally? Yes or no? Yeah. Now, for some of you in the room, it's your faith that provides that direction. For others of you in the room, it's your worldview that provides direction. Or it can be an exercise like this. But make no mistake, no one's going to get anything done around you, through you, if you don't have a direction of where you're going. Okay, so you'll get that turned in. Somebody tell me something in our last 1 minute and 45 seconds. Somebody tell me something you're taking away from today. Somebody tell me something you're taking away from today. What's that? $30. That's right. Somebody tell me something you're taking away from today.
Belief that we can make a difference.
Belief that you can make a difference. All right, somebody else, something you're taking away from today.
1 in 70 billion.
1 in 70 billion, a rare and unique creature.
We're all capable of change.
We're all capable of change. Somebody else.
You're giving us a blueprint of how we can be the best that we can be.
I hope so. We'll try. We will definitely try.
Accountability to loved ones?
Accountability to loved ones. Okay? Somebody else, something you're taking away from today.
Title doesn't make you a leader.
What's that?
Your title doesn't make you a leader.
Title doesn't make you a leader, especially today. Here's the drill. Something. Take something away from every one of these interactions. And I hope that you'll get proactive about it. That's why I asked you the 3 questions. So you know what you're hoping to learn. so that it's a valuable and meaningful exercise for you. So it's not just I got to go through this thing because EDSS said I have to, because my manager said I had to. That's crap. It's a waste of your time and mine. If every one of us, we got 100 or so, 103 in this track, 60 in the other, another whatever it is, 240 out in the communities, all of that combined, 400 people all pick out one thing. Get better at it, be better equipped, and then we'll all build a community we all want to live in. That's what we're aspiring to. But it begins with you, your arrow, getting in the right direction with all the other arrows in the room. That begins with you intentionally looking to learn. Intentionally looking to learn. So the reason I ask the question is so that every time we come together, you're already thinking of something you're hoping to learn, something you're hoping to learn, something you're hoping to gain. And then if you need the motivation, you look at those 3 names. You look at those 3 names. You look at those 3 names. My commitment, our commitment, is to give you everything we have. I will literally give you everything we have. And if you've talked to people that participated in the program previously, they'll tell you, if you email me, you call me, I'll be there for you. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you till the cows come home. You can already see that. God, don't get on the phone with me. You won't get off. All I ask is that you give me the same in return. How many say that's reasonable? All right. We've come to the end of our time. Next time, we will be in the elements room, which is on the other side of the cafeteria. Remember, parking is scarce at this time of the day. Please come a little bit earlier. Have a great afternoon.